So how do you take the framework, if your library, so the university has a framework to
Yes.
work under, then the library has its framework, how does that trickle down to your individual librarians and what they can do to help foster diversity? So, a lot of talking about diversity is very kind of broad. But so how do you get down on the ground and to actually implement these sort of, this framework, these broad ideas?
Right.
Well, what are your individual librarians doing
to support
Yeah.
it. So obviously you have to have a familiarity with sort of what the framework is and what we're emphasizing. And so that's got to be important because
Right.
people may say, interpret something as being diversity and, maybe it's not something that fits. So once you have an understanding of what fits into the framework, what kinds of things are important, then you're able to kind of look at it and see what kind of outreach am I doing maybe to student groups on campus, for example. Is there, should we be attending their monthly meetings? Are there sort of library opportunities in terms of our collections or services? Are we not? We know that there are students who are being recruited maybe from a particular region of the world, but we're not seeing them coming into the building. Is there some sort of outreach that we can do through student affairs to get those students to come in to the library, for example? Are there courses? There certainly are courses. All of our students have to take a course that's designated as a diversity course. There's sort of a U.S. Component one course, and then there's an international component course. Make sure that we're providing course-related instruction to those courses to further support the university's goals, and that every student who graduates has taken a course that fulfills those requirements. Those are a couple, I think, of sort of very sort of tangible, simple ways to do it. So that it just demonstrates that we're connected with and have an understanding of what's going on in the institution, and that it doesn't have to be sort of this big earth-shattering thing. I mean, you can take baby steps into making sure that you do what you need to do, and that students, and for me to be sort of observing that my staff member, for example, who does hiring of our work study students, has worked, I think, very hard to recruit a diverse pool of students. And so we have, we've in the 5 years I've been there, the students we've hired have gotten more and more diverse, and it's really exciting. And I know that that's a point of emphasis for her. But then that also demonstrates to other students that, that they're welcome in the library as well. They'll come in to ask questions and actually use the building. So
it looks like a diverse place.
Yes.
So do you have sort of a diversity group in the library that is kind of focused on these outreach, or is it just kind of incorporated into everybody's day-to-day duties that, okay, yes, I have to think about diversity back here while I'm doing my regular job? Or is there sort of a special program or special group within the library that kind of focuses on diversity issues?
We do have a diversity committee, and they're the ones who sort of help with working on that framework and do the requests to get information to ask us, how are we developing our collections, what programs, what, speakers, exhibits, that sort of thing do you have going on. But my hope is that from that, people are also doing that individual sort of, in terms of those hats, that they are thinking about diversity and the work that they're doing day to day. And some of it may be knowing that, in terms of our progress report, for the university, the Office for, Diversity and Equity has a sense of what we're doing, but hopefully then it just becomes part of what people do to make sure that, we have, women in science and engineering who are doing their course, they're coming in the summer. We want to make sure that we're part of that. You've got McNair scholars, that you're just naturally, yes, we're going to partner with our colleagues and other libraries to make sure that they're getting what they need. So the goal is so that it just becomes a natural part of, no matter whether or not you're doing public services, technical services, special collections administration, that it's just a part of what you do. And then we have this great thing that helps us keep us on track, but also continues to change as the work we do changes over time.
Also, what
Oh.
question would you ask yourself if you were doing this interview?
What question would I would, that's a great question. What question would I ask myself? I think I would ask myself, how I think that I look different from most ALA presidents.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to this at a very different point in my career. What I speak to the pros and cons of having been ALA president at this point in time, and what advice I would give to others who maybe thought, I need to wait, who maybe want to say, maybe I'll go for it now. So now I guess I need to answer that question. It was a tremendous opportunity. I've been very fortunate that I've had great mentors both in my libraries and within ALA, because the nominating committee, they go through a real serious vetting process. And so to have been approached to run for ALA president, I really felt was a big deal and a huge honor. So I think that it was good and the right thing for me to do, to say yes, I would love to be considered to be ALA president. At the time that I did, were there things that I wish that I knew going into it? And I certainly had a lot of advice from a lot of people, and so it wasn't for not having enough information. But there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of work, and I'm glad to say that I met the challenge and was able to accomplish a lot.
Yes.
But there were certainly things that I wish I had a little more experience with or better understanding. But at the same time, I feel that I'm a good reference librarian at heart, and that those skills really served me well in getting up to speed and learning the things that I needed to learn. In terms of people who are thinking about, wanting to run for president, either of ALA or maybe one of its divisions or their state association, I always encourage people to go for it, because you can get to the point where you've had a 35, 40, 50-year career and decide you're going to do it, and there's still going to be so many things that you don't know.
Right.
So that sort of chronological piece isn't necessarily as important as people maybe thought that it was, but also recognizing that it's going to be a lot of work, and you're going to learn a lot of things, and you have to be open to doing that. So, but you don't go into it alone. You have I would not have been successful if it wasn't for all of my colleagues, both, where I work, but also within ALA, who really supported me to get through this, to help me, come up with ideas, who are willing to do the work and really move forward with the vision that I had for serving as president. So, you have to have a strong network of people who are behind you, no matter what, who really are there to support you, and also willing to put in the hard work that you're going to have to put in.
I think this notion of going for it is good advice, whether you're running for ALA president or going for a promotion,
Yes.
or moving to another job with more challenges, or deciding to write that journal article,
Yes.
whatever it happens to be. And go for it when you're ready. When you feel you're ready, just go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Yeah, I'm just curious. It's kind of on top about being ALA president. So you met with so many individual librarians. Did you get feedback, criticism from the people on the ground saying ALA is too big? They can't help me in my. Did you come across that at all? I don't know who. ALA is just this huge thing, and today I'm dealing with a budget cut, and
Right.
how can they help me? How
Right.
can they? Because sometimes it's really hard to navigate. I mean, I switched. I was a reference librarian for years and years and years, and I moved into technical services, and it took me 2 years, 3 years to try to figure out my new place in ALA and where to go, and so I'm just wondering if you sort of heard that from your people that you were talking to, and what your response was.
It was interesting because I anticipated that I was going to get a lot of this. And there were certainly times when I realized that, I am now one of them because of the role. Right. It's like, okay, yesterday before the election results, I was one of you. Then once it happened, I was one of them, which is okay. And I thought, okay, this is good. It gives me a good perspective. I didn't experience as much as that as I thought, because in a weird way, I think that people really saw my election and then service as sort of an opportunity, that people really thought, okay, well, maybe something different is going on here. Yeah. I knew Courtney. I identify with Courtney in some way, shape, or form, and so, okay, maybe I can understand this a bit better. People were really actually very, very supportive and excited, and they were glad that, the thorny issues that we were dealing with or working towards the new strategic plan, that I was involved in part of that process. People, I really felt, kind of thought, well, how does ALA fit into what I do? I think instead of sort of that, it doesn't, it's too much, people were like, well, there's a piece of ALA, and that piece, I guess, being me, that I know I'm connected to, so maybe it's not bad or big or wieldy, and certainly going to various conferences and state associations and saying, inviting people to the annual conference, in San Francisco, come sit, say come and hang out with 23,000 of your closest friends. That's how, it is. But it's still a challenge. It is still a major challenge for ALA. It's still, there's certainly are people who perceive it is big. It's a big, complicated organization. Right. It is. But I'm hoping to move that dialogue to one where people can say, well, if Courtney, who was involved in this roundtable, and council can move some things forward and do things, well then, there's really hope for all of us. So I'm hoping to continue to work with the association to make it more obvious and apparent to people that everyone can be involved, and that their membership does make a difference in the day-to-day work that librarians of all types do, and that it is focused on, its vision and mission and goals really do line up with mine, as someone, as you said, who's working in this small library doing this very sort of discrete kind of work. When you have 55,000 members, it's a balancing, it's a balancing act. And so I think if we can keep going back to the association's goals, we go back to the mission of the organization, that's something that people can see themselves in and can get on board with. We need to make it easier and more obvious for people to recognize, this is why, being a member of ALA is valuable. This is why ALA is important. There are lots of people who are not members of ALA, but I think they appreciate, the advocacy work that the association does on behalf of libraries. I think they appreciated the letter that I sent on behalf of the association to the president, saying that the next librarian of Congress, should be a librarian. I think that there are things that we do that people can appreciate. We need to do a better job of letting people know the things that we're doing on behalf of libraries, and that it's really connected to what they do on a day-to-day basis. It's a challenge because it's so big. We've been around for a long time. Change can come slowly, but I think that people really saw, this is being someone who can represent the association, me being so different, that people thought, really, I think, feel, okay, maybe we're moving in a good
Great,
direction.
great.
There's still going to be plenty of people who say, it's just too big, it's just too complicated, I have a hard time with it, but I want them, if anything, to be able to say, but at least to say I value the work that, the association does on behalf of all libraries.
Courtney, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule
Oh,
to
thank
come
you.
and talk to us.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure for us as well, and we're just glad that you're here at the Charleston Conference, and we hope that you'll be coming back.
I'm certainly looking forward to doing so.